Ready to go, Jamie.
Perfect. Good afternoon. I'll go ahead and call the July 13th, 2020 Planning Commission to order. Welcome to Planning Commission members, staff, and guests. We ask for your patience during this virtual meeting. We do want you to know that multiple staff members are behind the scenes with us today, include John Fellows, he's Planning Administrator, Rachel Bailey, she's Zoning Administrator, Jonathan Chambers, he's the Land Development Administrator, and Andrew Livingood is the Annexation Coordinator.
During the meeting, you will see live images or still images of the Planning Commission members and the Administrator. However, images of the applicant and the public will not be visible. The public will be able to participate via three methods: watch, email, phone, or you can watch the live web session on YouTube or via the city's website. When participating, please provide your name for documentation purposes. For those who want to watch, you may watch the live stream meeting through the City TV access at https://www.youtube.com//user/Columbia SC If you'd like to participate via email, you may submit letters and statements via email to cocboardmeeting@columbiasc.gov, leading up to or during the meeting, as this count will be monitored during the meetings. Email letters will be read into the record. You may also participate by phone. The public may participate by calling 855-925-2801. When prompted, please enter the meeting code 9296. Hold on, I have someone need to, let's see. Oh, I think they just accessed it. Never mind. Pardon me. Go back one. I see some things popping up on my screen for waiting rooms, but it's being taken care of. Those participating by phone will receive 3 options on how to participate. Star 1 will allow you to listen. Star 2 will allow you to record a voicemail message that will be read into the record. And Star 3 will allow a participant to be placed in a queue so they may speak live when prompted. Andrew Livingood is our staff person who's monitoring the system and will assist this evening with those people that would like to participate by phone. You may also stream the video virtually via http publicinput.com /PC July. The roll call, we will now move forward with the roll call. Mr. Cohn.
Here.
Mr. Frost.
I'm here.
Here.
Ms. Hartz.
Here.
Ms. James.
Here.
Ms. Mendel.
Here.
Mr. Stigemeyer.
Here.
And Mr. Tupper. Did we hear from Mr. Tupper? Ford.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, great. Thank you.
Here.
We have quorum.
Great. Brief review of the meeting format. Applicants with requests before the Planning Commission are allotted a presentation time of 10 minutes. This time should include, but is not necessarily limited to, an overview of the project, case history, and any pertinent meetings held regarding the request. This time also includes all persons presenting information on behalf of the applicant, such as attorneys, engineers, and architects. This time limit does not include any questions asked by the Planning Commission or staff regarding the requests. Members of the general public are given the opportunity to address their concerns in intervals of 2 minutes. The administrator has a timer and will make presenters aware of when their time has expired. The Planning Commission reserves the right to amend these procedures on a case-by-case basis. The Planning Commission uses the consent agenda to approve non-controversial or routine matters by a single motion and vote. Examples of such items include approval of site plans, annexations, and street names. If a member of the Planning Commission or the general public wants to discuss an item on the consent agenda, that item is removed from the consent agenda and considered during the meeting. The Planning Commission then approves the remaining consent agenda items.
Before I begin the consent agenda this evening, we did have a person who sent in an email to our boards and commissions email asking what the holdup was for the meeting. Just so everybody who knows from the public perspective, we did have some technical difficulties getting some connections for the Planning Commission meeting this evening, but we are all good now to move forward. So just wanted to address that particular concern. The consent agenda this evening, it consists of the approval of the June 1st, 2020 minutes, as well as comprehensive plan map amendment and zoning map amendment for pending annexations. And these include 906 Brantley Street, as well as 166 Riding Grove Road. We also on the consent agenda have zoning map and text amendments. These consist of 1601 Hampton Street. We also have some site plan reviews on the consent agenda this evening, and those include plus or minus 86.30 acres at the intersection of Shady Oaks Road and County Line Trail, as well as a site plan review at plus or minus 2.3 acres at the intersection of Riding Grove Road and Wood Creek Farms Road, and another site plan review that is plus or minus 39.99 acres near Wood Creek Farms Road and Cardinal Crest Road. That consists of your consent agenda this evening.
Thank you. Is there anyone from the Planning Commission that would like any item removed from the consent agenda? Hearing none, John.
Next slide for you.
Is there anyone from the public that would like to have an item removed from the consent agenda? When participating, please provide your name with the communication for documentation purposes. We would ask that you communicate by sending an email to cocboardmeeting@columbiasc.gov. You can communicate via phone by pressing *2 to leave a voicemail or *3 to speak in person. We will now pause to allow communication from the public.
Andrew, this is John. Do you have anyone on the public input interface that would like to have anything removed from the consent agenda?
Hi, apparently I was on mute there. We do have 2 callers that have indicated that they wish to speak. I will take this opportunity to mention that if you are calling and you do wish to enter a queue, that it is a good idea to wait until the case is called. But that said, I will patch through the first caller to see if they wish to speak on the consent agenda.
Hello, do we have a caller on?
Andrew said he was patching someone through.
I will try the next caller. This first one did not connect. Incredibly, neither one of them did connect through, so.
All right, well, while we wait for that, Andrew, I did receive an email. It is from someone interested in the Rugby Road project. That is actually not on consent agenda. That is actually on the regular agenda. It is towards the end of the agenda, so their concern was to remove Rugby Road, and they did mention they were concerned that all council members do not seem to be there and all documents not submitted by the applicant. With regard to the documents, I'll address those when we get to the Rugby Road item. With regard to council members, this is actually a planning commission meeting, and council members do not attend planning commission meeting, but all of our planning commission members are here in person by voice and video this evening, just for clarification for those who are watching at home. And I'm just going to check one more time and refresh my email to see if we have any more items. We have received other emails, but they are not pertinent to the consent agenda. Going back to you, Andrew, is there anyone on your end that is interested in speaking about anything on the consent agenda?
Again, I did try to press the tap to speak button. I will try to patch the first caller through regardless. So hold on just one moment.
All right, great. Thank you.
Hey, is anyone able to hear me? I'm the first caller.
Yes, we can hear you. Can you just let us know your name and which item on the consent agenda you're interested in speaking about?
Yes, my name is Jordan Veverica, and I have a question and a comment on agenda item number 6, so I can wait until that time to prompt that question.
Okay. So item number 6 was the site plan review for Riding Grove Road and Wood Creek Farms. So, sir, the way the consent agenda works is the public or the planning commission can request to have an item from the consent agenda removed, placed on the regular agenda, and then we will present and address the item that's on the consent. So would you, if you'd like to speak about that item at Riding Grove Road and Wood Creek Farms, what we need from you is a request to have that removed from the consent agenda. I don't know if he's still there.
I am.
Okay.
Pardon my delay. Maybe I'm misunderstanding. I had a question about timeline. I'm not sure if that warrants it being removed from the consent agenda or not.
Well, in order to discuss it, we need to remove it from the consent agenda. So that probably would be the best thing, even if it is just a one-sentence response to your question, but that would be the proper procedure. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I believe we have an item. We'd like the public would like to have item number 6 removed from the consent agenda this evening.
Okay.
Andrew, is there any other citizens on public input that would like to speak about the consent agenda that you're aware of or on the call?
Well, we do have another caller, and I will patch them through.
Great. Thank you, Andrew. Hello?
I have unmuted them, and it does not appear that they are speaking.
Hello, welcome to the Planning Commission.
And this is a caller whose last 4 digits of their phone number is 6031, if you are listening. Again, that's 6031.
Andrew, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so yeah, this is David Brandeis. I was mistaken. I meant to speak to a particular issue, so I'll just wait until that's my time to speak.
Okay, and Mr. Brandeis, I'm aware of that case, so I will make sure I patch you through at that time.
Great, thank you. Sorry about that. My first time.
No problem. Yeah, no worries.
All right, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Frost, I believe we just have the site plan review for the intersection of Riding Grove Road and Wood Creek Farms to be removed from the agenda, and the remaining items, if you'd like to consider, you could consider a vote for the rest of the consent agenda.
Yes, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the consent agenda, items 1 through 5, item 7.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the consent agenda minus item number 6 is approved.
All right. So we are going to then move on to the regular agenda, and I'm going to let you read through the next part, and we will move number 6 to the first item on the consent or on the regular agenda.
Great. The Planning Commission will now move forward with those items on the regular agenda. We will use the following outline for regular agenda items. The administrator will introduce the case. The applicant will have 10 minutes to make a presentation. Planning Commission may ask questions. The public will then be allowed to participate via email, voicemail, voice in person, or via the web. Planning Commission may ask additional questions of the applicant, and then we'll have action by the Planning Commission.
All right. So to get to item number 6, let me read that, and you'll all have to bear with me as I move around on the screen. So item number 6, which is on the regular agenda, is site plan review 2020-0047. It is plus or minus 2.31 acres. It's the intersection of Riding Grove Road and Wood Creek Farm Road. TMS number 28900-0119, and it's a request for site plan approval to construct an 8-lot residential subdivision. The property is zoned RU Rural in Richland County and has a petition for annexation with PUDR planned unit development residential. And if the Planning Commission has any questions about this, feel free to ask them now. If not, Andrew might want to patch through the gentleman who had the particular question for this particular item. The exhibits for this item are at the end of the PowerPoint, so I'll have to do a lot of scrolling. So I will be glad to do that. Although if the question isn't related to a particular exhibit, it might just save us some time from scrolling through the PowerPoint. So Andrew, is that gentleman still on the call?
Yes, they are. I will try to patch them through.
This is Jordan Vabrica. Are you able to hear me okay?
Yes, Jordan, we are.
Yes.
Okay, great. My wife and I own property on the other side of where the construction is being proposed to begin. So we are interested in a potential timeline if this is passed, if the construction is approved, if anyone on the line happens to know when the construction would begin. That's what we're interested in.
I believe the applicant is on the call. Let me see here, verify they did not drop off. Mr. Pickrell, would you be able to answer that question for the applicant? I see Mr. Pickrell is on the call. He muted and unmuted himself, so let's give him a chance to respond.
John, this is Jonathan. I
Hey,
see
Jonathan.
his engineer is also on the call too, David Parr. So
Okay,
he also may be able to answer.
Mr. Parr, would you be able to answer that question more specifically for the caller?
No, Harold's going to need to answer about the timeline. Y'all hear me?
Just a little bit. If you could speak a little bit louder, we might be able to hear you. It's just slightly muted.
Yeah, I was saying Harold will need to answer about the timeline as far as construction.
Okay. So we're still waiting for Mr. Pickrell to unmute.
John?
Sure, yes.
Hey, I have Harold Pickrell on the phone, and he said that project would start pretty quick. It'd be within about 60 days
Okay.
that they would try to start construction.
All right. Thank you, Jonathan, and Mr. Pickrell for getting us that information. Sir, you're still on the call. Does that answer your question? Do you have a follow-up?
That answers my question. Thank you.
Okay, great. Andrew, is there anybody else who is interested in speaking about this particular item? I am looking at our email server, and I do not see anyone else sending in an email for this particular item. And Andrew, are we anyone interested in speaking, or are we good for the Planning Commission to consider this item?
John, I apologize for that. I thought I was unmuted. I do not see any other callers that have indicated that they wish to speak at this time.
Okay. Chairman Frost, then I believe if there's any conversation amongst the Planning Commission or other questions, otherwise you can move forward with looking at a motion for this item.
Yes, sir. If there's no other questions by Planning Commission, I'll entertain a motion on item number 6.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to approve item number 6, the site plan review at the intersection of Riding Grove Road and Wood Creek Farms Road.
Second. A second.
We have a first and a second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes.
All right, thank you for that. This evening, our second item for the regular agenda is 1232 Whitaker Drive. This is TMS number 13909-09-02. It is a request of a recommendation to rezone the parcel from single-family residential district RS1 to single-family residential district RS2. This particular item, we did receive a number of emails that have been sent in over the end of last week, the weekend, and today. I'm going to read it through a list of emails that were forwarded to the Planning Commission. Those include, I'm just going to read last names, Corker, Burkhetts, Thompson, Burke, Douglas, Berry, Lawson, Bernanke, Earhart, Ackman, Swam, Tupper, McPherson, and Caswell. And if I slightly mispronounced your last name, my apologies. The applicant, I believe, is also here, and we may have some callers. And I do know in the last 30 minutes, we did get more emails on this particular item that I have forwarded to Andrew, who will read those into the record. This property is located at the corner of Whitaker and Pine Ridge, and I will turn it over to the applicant at this point to address the Planning Commission.
Hello?
Hello.
Yes. I can't see my picture. Can you see me?
Is this Wade?
Yes, this is.
I do not see your picture, but let me see if I can.
It says you've stopped it.
Let's see if we can get your video going. I had. Let's see.
There I am.
All right.
Okay. Yes, sir. My name is Wade Carlisle. I live at 2725 Hayward Street in Shandon. And I originally purchased the property at 1232 Whitaker with the intention of flipping the house, of fixing it, of renovating it and selling it. But after having it inspected by 2 engineers, they have advised me that the house is too deteriorated to save, and that I'm going to have to demolish it. And so I am requesting rezoning to RS2, which will bring the property into conformance with contiguous RS2 lots. And if approved, I'm committed to putting no more than 2 houses on this parcel. And that's it.
Do we have any questions from the Planning Commission for the applicant?
John, this is Issa. Just my question is just for general consumption, given the change in zoning, what is the maximum number of residences that would be allowed on that property?
I'm going to let Miss Bailey answer that question because she knows the zoning code backwards and forwards more than I do. Rachel, would you be able to answer that question?
Yes. With the RS1, which it is now, the minimum lot area is 15,000 square feet. So this parcel is about 29,500, give or take. So there's not enough land area to subdivide it into 2 parcels. RS2, the minimum lot area is 8,500 square feet. So with 29,500, I mean, technically it has the land area to have 3 parcels on it, but there's no guarantee that it could actually be subdivided into 3 parcels. Utilities, engineering, as well as just lot width and lot depth would come into play as well.
I have no intention of that. I would only do 2.
I think the intention is different than the zoning. So
yes,
the zoning goes with the property. So that's the question I think
yes, ma'am.
Everyone is concerned about.
Sure, I understand.
So just to sum that up for you, Ms. Mandel, from what Rachel said is if you had a surveyor who could survey the property and meet all of those requirements of width and depth and the size of the lot, it could be possible that the lot could be divided into 3, or more likely it's probably going to be just 2. It is an irregular shaped lot, so those irregular shaped lots become a little bit more difficult to estimate without detailed analysis.
One question I would have is, off which road would you be accessing the subdivided parcels? If you were to subdivide in 2 parcels, which road would you access from?
One would be on Whitaker and the other one would be on Pine Ridge.
Are there any other questions from Planning Commission at this time?
Yep. James, I've got a question for the applicant.
Okay.
The application listed the current structure as a duplex. Would your intention be going back with the duplex, or is that allowed for
No,
zoning?
Sir. No, sir. I would go back with 2 single family residences.
And this is Rachel Bailey, just to clarify, a duplex would not be an option. It is a non-conforming structure, and I believe it's been vacant for 12 months or more, so it would have to conform. If the structure remained, it could only be a single family, and if it's demolished, only single family residential could come back in that district.
Okay. Any other questions from Planning Commission before we move to the public?
I guess I'll just add, it seems like several of the letters and concerns that we've gotten have been about the idea of how many structures could be built on this property, and it isn't clear at this point whether there could be 2 or 3. So I guess that's the issue is, to me, I don't, if we knew for sure that there could only be 2 residences built on this property, that would be one thing, but 3, it seems like we don't know based on, the issue of the lot size and that kind of thing. So that was one of the questions that seemed like the public had, and I don't think we have an answer to that at this point. Is that accurate, Rachel?
Correct.
I mean, for what it's worth, that was kind of the point I was trying to make earlier, is that, I'll be happy to commit in writing to only doing 2 houses. But as to the zoning issue, that's up to y'all. That's the point I was trying to make earlier, is that if it would, if it would give people peace of mind, I'm happy to commit to that.
And Wade, just to make it clear for you, rezonings before Planning Commission and Council are not project specific. So I understand where you're coming from, but Planning Commission is looking at it just as what is allowed in RS1, what is allowed in RS2.
Understood.
And this is John, and they can't make anything conditional. So it whatever the zoning allows is their decision, would have to follow that. So
yes, sir.
I had another question for the applicant. The letters, there seem to be some concerns about fitting in with the design of the neighborhood and the, I guess, adjacent homes. As John mentioned, you wouldn't be required to adhere to it, but I mean, have you communicated any design intentions regarding the homes, if it was to pass, that you would build, or have you talked to the homeowners neighborhood association regarding any of your intentions?
I have not spoken to anybody in that regard, really, but I would do it in keeping with the other homes in the neighborhood. I've already done 2 houses in the neighborhood, and I've gotten the feedback on those 2 homes has been excellent. I would do something that's consistent with the other houses. I wouldn't do any kind of 2-story house or anything like that. There is another house, I think 2 streets over, that's it's very large. It's not consistent with the other houses in the neighborhood, and I suspect that's a part of the cause for concern here amongst a lot of the neighbors. Is I think that's, a lot of people don't like that, and I have no intention of doing anything like that. I'm thinking about a 1.5-story house or something.
Any additional follow-up questions from Planning Commission at this time? Okay, so we'll move towards public comment. We encourage those that would like to communicate via email to begin sending in letters and emails. Obviously, we've already seen several, but if you have additional letters you want to send, please send those to COC board meeting at columbiasc.gov. We also encourage those wanting to leave a voicemail to begin leaving the voicemail using *2. We will start to receive comments from the public who choose to speak via phone. Live, press *3 to join the queue. And when participating, please provide your name with the communication for documentation purposes. We will now hear.
All right. Andrew, do we have anyone on the call that would like to speak to the project on Whitaker?
Hi, John. At this point, I do not have any callers that have indicated they wish to speak. However, I do have some emails that I can begin reading.
That would be great if you could start reading those.
Okay. The first email is from Anne Marie Johnson. Dear council members and board members, I am a 23-year resident of the neighborhood. I live on Wedgewood Drive. I am opposed to the request to rezone 1232 Whitaker from an RS1 to an RS2. Increased density changes to the character of these older, established park-like neighborhoods. A change to RS2 will open up this property for more than one house to be built. More roof area, removal of mature trees, more driveways, more stormwater runoff, and more traffic on quiet streets. While fine in a pre-planned community, these are changes that cannot be reversed in an older neighborhood and irrevocably change the character, which is why we enjoy living here. Additionally, it sets a precedent for zoning changes to other lots in the area currently zoned RS1, and again, potentially impacting the character of the neighborhood. Thank you for the opportunity to comment. Regards, Anne Marie Johnson. The next email is from Jada Harris, and it reads, I am a homeowner. Oh, I apologize, that's a different case. The next one is from Elizabeth Wolf, and it says, to whom it may concern, I live with my husband and child at 1315 Whitaker Drive, a few houses down and across the street from this property. We were happy to learn of the Carlisle purchase and intention to divide a lot and build 2 houses. He knows and cares about this neighborhood and has recently remodeled 2 other homes to fit with local characteristics while improving the look of the area. I support rezoning 1232 Whitaker Drive in order to build 2 new houses. Thank you, Elizabeth Wolf. And let me just double check. Those are the only emails I have. And let me check to see if any comments have come in or if any callers have joined. And as of right now, I do not have any callers that have indicated they wish to speak. And there are no additional comments.
This is Drew Coker. I would like to say something.
Who is this again?
Drew Coker. I'm the resident over here in the neighborhood off of Whitaker.
Yes. Hi, Mr. Coker.
Yeah, I sent an email earlier today. I guess it didn't get received.
And Mr. Coker, it did get received. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 emails that were received prior to about 4:30, 4:45 today. All of those emails were forwarded to the Planning Commission for them to read and review before the meeting began. So they did receive your email.
All right.
But go ahead and speak.
No, I kind of speak for probably a majority of the neighborhood. I'm a young man. I say young. I'm 36 years old with 2 kids, which probably, makes up 50% of this neighborhood, people moving in. But I mean, every person I've talked to that is opposed to this is worried about traffic. It's not like this is Edward Rose and I apologize, I'm sure there's a Mungo employee on the line right now, but Mungo coming in and putting an apartment complex here. I mean, we're talking about an extra 2 to 4 cars, which is obviously going to increase the property values, tax base. We all know everybody's educated here. Know that does for the schools and the city and everything else. But obviously, I'm for this. I was with 3 other neighbors, but they all had young kids going to about ready to go to bed, so they had to go home before we could have the option to speak. But obviously, I think I do speak for most of the neighborhood where we're okay with 2 or even obviously if you're doing it, it'll be for 3 houses. But
thank you, Drew.
Thank you, Mr. Coker, for that update on your email.
Okay, thank you.
Andrew, has anybody else sent in a requested to speak?
I do have another caller that has requested to speak.
Okay.
I'll see if I can patch them through.
Thank you very much.
Well, it appears that they have disconnected, so I'll wait another minute or so to see if they reconnect.
Okay, while you're waiting, I will check the inbox for the emails, and I do not have any new emails. Again, just for the record, those emails that were received and forwarded to the Planning Commission came from the last names of Corker, Burkett's, Thompson, Burke, Douglas, Berry, Lawson, Ackerman, Bernanke, Earhart, Swam, Tupper, McPherson, and Caswell.
John, just to review, I've read them, but they're all running. We have a lot of letters from the other issue too. Can you just review like the numbers that were for this rezoning and the numbers that were kind of against, and just to clarify?
I did not total those. I can tell you there was people who were in support and those who were more concerned about the image and character of the community. They fell into those two particular camps. Give me a second to, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I will get that information to you just in a few minutes here. So give me a second.
Yeah, I just kind of curious. Like I said, we've gotten a lot of emails in a short period of time, so trying to remember what those were. And it seemed like some were about traffic, but also some were about the issue of there being possibly more than 2 properties being built there, which I guess is potentially a concern. So
yes, I'm going to be in the file in just 1 second. So Mr. Corker, he sent in an email and you've heard from him. So he would be in support.
I'm sorry. Did you hear anything from Ada Patton or Ada Wyman? She sometimes goes by. I know she was for, and she was sending in an email. But I did not hear that name amongst those that you read out. I don't think.
That name is not familiar to me.
She did. She did send a letter.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm just trying to get, I'm juggling, looking through all these. So, sorry, I'm having to pull them up. I did not have them. They're all digital. Tom and Tina Burkett's, if I were to summarize it, they've indicated they would be happy to see a new house constructed on the lot. They do not agree with the zoning. The zoning should be changed on this property so that more than one house can be built. So they don't have a problem with the new house, but they do not want to see the property split. So I'll put that in the other column. And then we have Ms. Thompson, and I'm pulling up her email. She and her spouse live at Whitaker Drive on the corner of Pine Ridge and Whitaker, directly across from the above mentioned property, and they will be greatly impacted by the zoning changes to the above mentioned property. They have also been told that by the developer and the contractor are well known to longtime residents of the neighborhood, and these long-term residents trust the developer. But their concern is once the zoning is changed, that the developer will do what business people do, which is to handle the property in a way which will make the most money for them. In either, she goes through a number of scenarios, but in either case, it would appear that they do not want the zoning changed. So I can calculate that. And then Mr. Burke, I'm pulling up his email. They live in Kilbourne Park for over 30 years. They were told that the house currently on the property must be demolished for repairs. They would be happy to see a new house constructed, but they do not agree with the zoning to allow more than one lot. And for those of you listening, I am just summarizing these emails at the request of Planning Commission to see how many people we have in support or against the rezoning that have commented. This other email is from Mr. Douglas. He's lived in the area for 18 years. He says that the rezoning would be a wise move for the city to be able to build 2 homes in keeping with the surrounding neighborhood. And they have confidence and support the application. The next email is from Jean Berry. They are writing to oppose the request of the zoning change, and I don't need to probably read any more than that. The Lawson's email is being pulled up at the moment. They oppose the request. The next letter is from Andrea Altman. Andrea Altman is opposed to this motion for a number of reasons listed. The next email is from Taylor and Sarah Bernanke, and they live across the street, and they oppose the rezoning. The next email is from Becky Earhart. This person is in support of, Ms. Earhart is in support of 2 lots and the rezoning.
I guess, John, listening to you read these letters, it seems like there are people who are in favor, but a good many of them are in favor of 2 houses. And that's not what we're deciding on. We're deciding on a rezoning that would allow 3 potentially. So I guess, anyway, I mean, carry on, but it seems like there are people who are saying they're in favor, but they're in favor of 2 houses. And that's...
that would be my interpretation that of both the first time I read the letters and going through today, a lot of ones that are in support clearly are stating 2. There is that potential that if you had the, did the math, you, like Rachel indicated, there is the acreage in order to get 3. It's just a matter of, can you get the right widths and lot depths on the property. I have Mr. Swam was in support. I have pulled up Lee Tupper's email, and this one, it indicates that there's a number of concerns, and they are currently opposed. And I have 2 more. Oh, maybe I have one more. Okay. This one is from a Mr. McPherson, and they're recommending the board to rezone the property in question for the betterment of the neighborhood. The property, blah, blah, blah.
I mean, I read one of the emails before I came, and one of them indicated that this person is against all development and that the property should be rehabilitated, as he put. The house is infested with termites. I mean, it's got termites in the sills, in the joists, in the floors, in the walls. It cannot be saved. So I guess I'm kind of curious as to what some of these people are suggesting that I do.
So the last email I have is from a Mr. Caswell, and he was not in favor of the rezoning. I believe I have captured all of the, well, I think I have two more, sorry. The other one.
Wade, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Would you be opposed to trying to share, potentially a rendering of the two homes that you would build, or a site plan of some kind to maybe try to alleviate some of these folks' concerns? It sounds like, to a certain degree, it's just they don't know what would potentially go there. That's their concern. On some of the larger sites, you actually have to provide that. With this lot size, it's too small to require that. But sometimes folks meet with the local neighborhood associations and talk a little more in depth about what they would propose. You're not obligated if the zoning was to pass, but at least that would potentially help some of these neighbors that have voiced concerns about the redevelopment.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to mention, so there is no contractual zoning allowed in South Carolina. So like Rachel indicated, if the zoning technically allows for the lot to be divided into 3 lots, that's the way it could be divided. And so certainly reaching out to the neighborhood and working with the neighborhood would be a great opportunity. But in this case with the rezoning, both the current owner of the property could choose to go forward with that and maybe only do 2 lots or something like that. They could, if the code allows it, to go through with 3. There's also the potential of the property being sold and some other person who's not on this call or having this topic, having this discussion today could also step in and if potentially put in 3 lots. So I just wanted to mention that I think certainly that opportunity that you mentioned, Mr. Tupper, is there's a potential there, but Planning Commission and City Council cannot do any kind of contractual zoning. So if it does get rezoned, it is kind of the standards that are within the zoning code at the moment that would stand. Just to summarize that question for Ms. Mendel, there were a number of emails. I have 7 people that are in some form of or support. Most of them do mention 2 lots. And then I have 9 people who are not in favor of the rezoning. Some of them mention rebuilding the house, or rebuilding 1 new house, but that's the answer. It's basically 7 to 9 in terms of the comments. And I think while we were doing that, Andrew was texting me, and I think we got some other, we have one more email in from a Taylor Bernanke, who I had mentioned earlier. Their question was, has the applicant ever built a home from the ground up or only flipped houses? So that would be a question from the email
I have built homes from the ground up before, yes.
Okay, thank you very much for that answer. And then Andrew has indicated, oh, that's an email for me. So with that, I'll let you answer Mr. Tupper's question or anyone else's, and I'm gonna try to figure out this other question for Andrew while there's a discussion. He may have other people on the line too.
What was your question, Mr. Tupper?
I was just asking if you'd be willing just to share more information about what you would potentially do if the zoning change did occur, just to
Yes.
try to alleviate some of the concern.
Yes, sir. I would be happy to do that. The trouble is at this point I don't have any drawings yet because I don't know if y'all are going to let me do this. You know, they cost hundreds of dollars, so it was kind of premature at this point for me to go spending a bunch of money on plans if I don't know if y'all are going to give me the green light. But yeah, I'll be happy to do that. And I don't know if you noticed, there's a letter in there from Ms. Becky Earhart in which she indicated where we had worked with her on a previous project where we bought a big piece of property and there was concern. I think there was room for 9 houses on that piece of property. But there was concern in the neighborhood that wouldn't be in keeping with the character of the neighborhood. So we only did 4 to be consistent with the character of the neighborhood. We have a good track record. The last house that I did over on Woodside Haven was people were cooking meth in it. They were using drugs in there, and I turned it into a beautiful home. You know, I took an eyesore and turned it into a great place. And this house here, it's abandoned. It is infested with termites. I mean, the wood is just oatmeal. You can literally pick it apart with your hand. It's overgrown with bamboo, which has grown over into other people's yards. It's an invasive species, which has literally led to litigation over there. There was lawsuits with the previous owner about this bamboo. I'll get rid of all of that. Both of the next door neighbors, Mr. McPherson and Mr. Bunch, didn't speak up, but I did speak with him, and he indicated that he was intended to send in an email, but I guess he didn't. He said he's on my side. You know, the people who are going to be most affected by this are the next door neighbors. Both of the next door neighbors have said that they're on my side, that they support the measure. And I know of several other neighbors in the neighborhood whose names were not on the list that you read out. They didn't speak up. They didn't send in emails, but you know, you said, I think it was 7 to 10 or something like that. I could give you more names of people who are in support. You know, that's my behalf. But yes, I'll be happy to have a meeting with people and show them renderings if you'd like me to. I have no such renderings at this time. I've got a picture of something that I kind of have in mind. I don't know how well you can see it. You can't really see too well on there, but that's kind of what I have in mind right there. Something that's consistent with the neighborhood.
So, and I don't mean to cut you off, Wade, but I do just want to make it clear that it doesn't necessarily matter what he intends to develop on those parcels, because
right, I understand.
It's not project specific, it's a rezoning. So he's not held any of that, nor is that a design district. So what he does develop on that lot won't have any kind of public meeting. It'll just be the regular permitting channels.
We are only looking at rezoning, and currently, I mean, I guess I'll just say that given the number of people who are against it and the number of people who are looking at supporting it with 2 lots, if there was some way that we could determine that based on the setbacks and the scope of kind of how the footprint of that lot is, that there was no way he could get approval, or anyone could get approval to place more than 3 properties on that lot, I would absolutely support it. But I just, think that under the current zoning, for there to be 3 pieces of property there, it doesn't sound like the neighborhood would support that, or that most people understand that what's potentially on the approval for the rezoning is 3 pieces, and we have no control over that. I mean, all we control is whether or not it gets zoned for up to 3 pieces of property or stays zoned for 1. That's all we're controlling right now, and that's our only decision making. So I guess if there was some way to know that, like I said, that based on how that lot could be subdivided, that it was only going to be allowed for 2, I would support that, absolutely. I'm concerned under the current circumstances, and I wonder if there's more information we could get that would allow us to make that determination that it really only could be 2 pieces of, 2 residences rather than up to 3. That's.
I think that exercise, it's possible. It's up to whether the developer wants to go through that process. Different surveyors are able to, measure things and different angles and things like to accomplish that. So it'd have to be that exercise going through that. And I'm not sure that applicant would want to, is interested. It's up to him to decide if he'd want to do that. I do have another caller on the line that Andrew has indicated. So we may want to hear from that person. Andrew, can you patch them through?
Yes, here you go.
Hi, welcome to the Planning Commission. Can you give us your name?
Janie Godbold.
Hi, Ms. Godbold. You're here with the Planning Commission.
Great. My primary question is to be sure you received an email from me. I did not hear my name included in the list of those received today.
I have been looking for your email. I have not seen your email. I don't know if you sent it into the COC board meeting or you sent it to an individual person. I have been, while Planning Commission's been discussing it, I've been looking for an email from you in my inbox as well as a saved email, but I am not able to track that down at the moment.
Okay. Is it all right if I just indicate what I said in the letter?
Yes, that would be great.
Okay. We reside at 1218 Whitaker Drive, and we oppose the rezoning. There was a similar change requested for property at 4323 Kilburn Road, and this has been years ago, but the neighbors did not want that, and the city denied that request, and it remains an RS1. And the amendment case summary indicates that the abutting properties to the southwest and north are RS1, and to the south and west are all the folks in the 1200 block of Whitaker. When you're turning onto Whitaker from Kilburn Road, that block accommodates traffic traveling in opposite directions. So if a car is stopped at the stop sign on the corner of Whitaker and Kilburn, a car turning onto Whitaker from Kilburn is able to make the turn. The blocks of Whitaker that are zoned RS2 are much more difficult to navigate due to the parking that occurs on the street. And for that, that is one of the reasons that we believe it's in the best interest of the neighborhood for the 1200 block to remain RS1. We appreciated the input included in the application from the 2 neighborhood residents, but I noted it was noted that they don't live on Whitaker or Pine Ridge, which are the streets this property impacts the most. And we're delighted that this unsalvageable home is going to be renovated or something's going to be done with this property. There was also a comment in one of the letters that the surrounding homes all have lots much smaller, or that the surrounding lots are even smaller than the 2 14,000 square foot properties that result from the new zoning, and that's not accurate. Our lot is approximately 19,500 square feet. So if the builder constructs a house that is similar to the structure currently on the property and similar to the neighboring homes, I don't believe that the house has to be much larger than the neighborhood standard. And so for those reasons, we oppose the rezoning.
Current house is a 2,000 square foot, 2-story now. 2,500 square foot.
John, I don't know if you're speaking, but you're on mute.
Sorry. I had just said thank you very much for her comments, and I wanted to say while she was talking, I actually did get her email, which she did summarize verbally to all of you.
The current home there is about 2,500 square foot, and it's a 2-story house. Our intention would likely be to replace it with a 1.5-story home, also about 2,500 square feet, and then probably a small cottage, smaller than that, probably 1,500 square feet or so, that somebody's already said that they're interested in putting a small cottage there. I mean, it's ridiculous. Everybody acts like there's going to be all this extra traffic and everything. You know, one home just is not going to change the neighborhood that much.
John, I got just a quick question or a thought. Would there be anything prohibiting the developer, Wade, to go through just a Board of Zoning Appeals on the lot split for the RS1 and get a BZA approval or denial, whichever it goes, on two 14,500 square foot lots in there? Can you go through BZA and have that done?
No. So you only go to the Board of Zoning Appeals for variances or other items that are specified in the zoning code that they have to go there. So if you have a piece of property and the zoning code allows it to be divided, as long as the acreage, the lot width, and the lot depth are met, then the lot can be divided. So essentially what would happen through this process is if City Council approved the rezoning request, because today the Planning Commission is going to make a recommendation to City Council. City Council has will hold a public hearing, and then they'll have a first and a second reading on this case. I guess as an example, if City Council approved the rezoning and it was possible to divide this lot into 3 lots, that would be whoever the owner is at that time would be able to divide it into 3 lots. The Zoning Board of Appeals would not get involved in the discussion. If the person who had the property, it was rezoned, they could only technically get 2 lots in it, then they'd be able to divide it into 2 lots. But there is no other way around assuring that only 2 lots are constructed other than a denial of the application from City Council. And then just for everyone who's on the call, as well as for the applicant, this is a recommendation to City Council this evening, whether it's an approval or a denial. City Council will hold a public hearing. They'll have a first and a second reading, and then it's City Council who makes the decision on the rezoning.
And Jamie, this is Rachel. Just to touch on that a little bit more, there's a section of the code that states that no newly created lots can be smaller than the minimums. So that would be like your minimum lot area, your minimum width, your minimum depth. So because that code section is in there, that prohibits an individual from seeking a variance to those requirements.
Okay.
Thanks, Rachel, for that clarification.
Sure thing.
Well, John, do we have any other questions, comments, emails, phone calls?
This will be we'll consider this our last call, I guess. I do not have any more emails that are coming up in my email other than the one that just came from Miss Goodbold a few minutes ago. Andrew, do we have anybody on the call who is called in that's interested to speak on this item?
John, no, we do not have any additional callers.
All right, so Mr. Frost, I guess we are completing our public input here. I'm going to reshare my screen, and we can move forward on that. So let me see why I cannot share my screen at the moment.
Hey, John, this is Harris. I have a quick question.
Sure, Harris.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Is this like the staff recommendation was approval?
I couldn't quite hear what you said. You broke up there, Harris. Could you say that again?
Was the staff recommendation for this particular case, was that an approval? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. The recommendation for this particular case, I'm going to pull it up again for you.
It was for approval.
Yeah, it was. It was for approval.
Great, thank you very much. I just wanted to pull up the actual document.
Had y'all received all of that neighborhood input at the point where you made that recommendation?
We make the recommendation approximately 2 weeks before the agenda is published. So we evaluate it on the technical merits of a particular case. So we look at the land use plan, we look at the size of the lot, those types of things, but we had not, all of those comments, I would say 99% of those emails started to come in on Friday throughout the weekend and then today.
I think, is that where we're at, John?
This is where we're at. Yeah, sorry, it took me a minute to find out where we were in the PowerPoint, but I got us caught up.
So, I think we're down to the second bullet on this one, hearing no additional responses from the public or questions. Are there any additional questions from the Planning Commission? If not, I'd like to entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to approve the request for recommendation to City Council to rezone the property at 1232 Whitaker Drive from single-family residential RS1 to single-family residential district RS2.
Second.
I have a motion to approve and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed?
Me. I think I'm the only one, and this is Dr. Mandel.
The motion carries. The request to rezone is approved.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, sir.
Your next item this evening is a zoning map amendment for 901 South Edisto Avenue, 903 South Edisto Avenue, 911 South Edisto Avenue, and 919 South Edisto Avenue.
I'm out, y'all. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
This is a request for a recommendation to rezone the parcel from light industrial M1 to general residential district RG2. You can see the property here. It abuts the railroad. It is also within to the one to the left side of this aerial. You'll actually be the airport, and Rosewood Drive is to your right of the aerial. And now this map has reversed that. This is the current land use plan in the area. It is a employment campus area. And then the rezoning, you can see here that it's industrial being requested for residential. They did provide a general site plan for the parcel, which is not necessarily required with a rezoning. And this is a diagram of
Flight path.
flight path, yes. And we have received some emails for this that were forwarded to you this afternoon, as well as the aeronautics report for this particular item. Rachel's been dealing with the aeronautics report a little bit more than I have, so I'm going to let Rachel summarize the aeronautics report for you.
There were 3 different aeronautics statements. Zoning staff, when we get certain rezonings, certain permit applications, we go into a land use tool and submit to the Aeronautics Commission the proposed case, and they let us know if it's something that is compatible or not compatible, or if there's extra steps necessary, such as a no hazard letter. In this circumstance, the Aeronautics Commission stated that this was not a compatible use or project for the site, which was more, I believe, on the site plan as a whole, not necessarily the rezoning, because we sent them all documents that we had. So they were looking at the whole thing in its entirety. We also received, or the applicants received and forwarded, a no hazard letter from the FAA, and then the Richland County Airport Commission submitted a statement this afternoon that they were against the project. So there's 3 different. The first one, which was the South Carolina Aeronautics, that was the staff submission. So that's the report that we received back from our submission to them, that we were just required to send in based on the proximity to Owens Field.
Okay. Go ahead,
I believe the applicant is here.
Is the applicant present?
This is Andrew Livingood. I do have David Brandeis, who is the project engineer on my public input site, if you do not have the applicant on your site.
Yeah, Mr. Fuller was going to try to be on the meeting.
I am not seeing Mr. Fuller on the call. He was given the contact information for the Zoom meeting, but I don't see him currently on the call. So
I see a Robert. That might be him.
Oh,
we had some issues.
You're right.
Last time with Boza, he wasn't able to get himself unmuted, so I actually had to give him a call and get him on the phone.
Let me see if I can unmute him. I can ask him to unmute.
It might be good. He might want to try. Oh, he looks unmuted now.
I have now unmuted. Is that correct?
Yes, you are, Mr. Fuller. You are here to speak with the Planning Commission.
I thank you mightily for bearing with me. I'm a computer dinosaur, but I am ready to speak to this project.
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. This is an 8.64 acres parcel at the just off of Rosewood Drive on the way to the airport, Owens Field. The proposed use of the site is, I would suggest to you, consistent with the city's comprehensive plan, employment campus, future land use map, in that the staff report, it says that redevelopment and infill in these districts with more supporting uses like multifamily, residential, and other retail entertainment uses is encouraged, with access to multimodal transit stops in and near the employment campus. That is a part of the staff report that you have in front of you. This site has been vacant from any other productive use for many years. It was last used as Bagnall Builders Supply, which was familiar to many of you who have been in Columbia for a long time. Those operations closed on the site well over a decade ago. The proposed uses for approximately 90 units of attached single-family residences, similar to other proximate development in the general neighborhood vicinity. For the staff to have recommended denial without specific explanation or rationale is a little disappointing. I think they may have relied too heavily on the aeronautics reports. Having sat idle or derelict for so long a time makes all the more inexplicable the disapproval of a viable adaptive reuse of this relatively large impact site. Particularly so since the use falls within the parameters of use encouraged by the city's comprehensive plan for the creation of compatible neighborhood residences. Stratus Development's direct contact with neighbors and neighboring associations of neighborhood interests has revealed and suggests receptivity for this type of residential development in the Rosewood Edisto communities. This redevelopment is consistent with and complementary to the renewal efforts that are increasingly prevalent in this area of the city. Proximity to Hamilton Owens Airport should pose no specific problem, critical hazards, or public safety issues. The building height at distance from airplanes on takeoff and landing approaches is well below restricted and regulated levels. The proposed residential density is compatible with the vicinity and less than the regulated restricted zoning densities allowable for any RG2 district. The Owens Airport Commission does oppose the development of this property for this non-airport related use. That commission's primary direct interest is promotion of the airport operations without particular regard for adverse restriction to surrounding property owners with interests not tied to the airport. While the airport interests are and should be of legitimate concern, that sole focus cannot and should not be the controlling factor to all other proximate landowner interests. The applicant developer, Stratus Group, is experienced in projects of the proposed type and design. The site is deemed well suited to the demographics and renewed family residential interest in this development community, and the development team, including local civil engineers, of which Mr. Brandeis is on the call, are well familiar with both the general development parameters and the specific particularized concerns related to the airport proximity. Status is prepared to address all questions regarding the compatibility of the proposed project to and within this particular community, including the airport concerns. We did speak with that commission meeting today. They did report to us that they would not be in support of the project, but we think it is the Planning Commission and the City Council's responsibility to consider the application in its overall context to the community, and we solicit your support for approval. Mr. Brandeis with the engineering firm here in Columbia is present on the meeting to answer any technical questions related to the location of the project.
Thank you, Mr. Fuller. John, should we go to questions and comments? Ask the Planning Commission to.
Yes, unless Planning Commission has any follow-up questions for Mr. Fuller right at this moment, we can go on to emails and correspondence regarding this particular project.
Are there any questions from the Planning Commission at this stage to Mr. Fuller? Hearing none, John, I think we can see if Mr. Brandeis is on the call and he wants to chat. Let's go and see if there's any other emails.
Sure. And Mr. Brandeis has sent me 2 emails and that he had indicated in those emails that he'd like to speak. So if he is on the call and wants to speak, he would be a good person to start the conversation with.
Hi, John. I am trying to patch him through right now.
Okay.
Bear with me just a moment.
Andrew, can you hear me? Am I on the call?
Yes.
Yes, you are. We can hear you,
Mr.
Brand. And can you just mention?
And I put the email just in case. Go ahead.
Go. I have just been asked for the person who's taking minutes if I could start asking all of the people speaking if they could just spell their last name for the record. So if you could just mention your last name and spell it, that would be great.
Sure. Brandees, Brandes. I'm with E.L. Robinson Engineering here in Columbia. Just to tag on to what Bobby said, we're seeking a change from RG2 from the more intensive M1 light industrial. That's about 8.64 acres, and as you mentioned, the former Bagnell Builders. The RG2 will allow us to go up to 16.4 units, which would allow 141 units on the property. The site plan, which we have to go through site plan approval with the Planning Commission with this one. So you do get 2 bites of the apple in this particular project. It's only 90, mainly because we're not going vertical and we're using a townhome style 2 to 3 story unit, 2 to 3 bedrooms. We have the height to go another 23 feet and could reach that density, but we believe that it fits more into the community with the single family housing. If you look at the zoning map, you'll notice that we have M1 directly connected to RG2. That, for us, that's a bit of a mismatch in zoning. And we believe that this particular project will help sort of buffer that mismatch in zoning. I do want to note that the developer is not asking for any government incentives or tax breaks for the project. This is completely self-sufficient. The current property has no trees on it. It's completely cleared. And this project will add a significant number of trees, better landscaping to help drainage and runoff, which is a problem in that area. We also think the M1 to RG2 corrects a balance in the city that does not conform to market needs and demands. Numerous elected officials and staff has identified that there's a true housing need in the city for workforce housing and no available tracts to build on and little interest from developers. So this is a project that has meets one of those needs. It really is catering to the workforce in the community, a project that's sorely needed. A lot of the other projects that have been discussed in this area are high density student housing. That's not what this particular project does. This project caters to that sort of missing middle. There's also a number of environmental concerns on this project. One of the reasons a lot of people have walked away from it, and this particular project will address those and clean them up. We've also talked with a number of the neighboring property owners, all the neighboring property associations, elected officials, and so far, except for the airport, we've seen zero opposition to it. From a traffic standpoint, we're completing a traffic impact study, even though meeting with SCDOT, they agree that there's really no need from their perspective, but we know it's important to the community, so we're doing that. Right now, we have a very low volume count, less than 100 cars, and the single biggest movement at our intersection, which is Howe, was less than 5 cars per hour. So we don't anticipate any impacts to the transportation in the area. Interestingly, I was the project manager for both the Rosewood Hills development and the Columbia Owens master plan back in 2002. We had extensive community input for both projects with day-long charrettes. And interestingly, on that steering committee was Mr. Jim Hamilton. And at that time, the project manager, the airport manager, along with all the surrounding communities, the major issue in that area was transportation and access for freight. And our recommendation was a spine road that was never built. In a lot of ways, this access has limited the growth of that area into any more light industrial. It's one of the reasons why it's sat vacant for so long, in addition to the environmental issues. With the adjacent residential uses along Mitchell Street and Howe, the conversion of this property to RG2 is really, in our minds, closing a gap between two incompatible uses. Proposed multifamily townhome style residential is a really good transition between the single family and the more intensive M1 light industrial. It also helps buffer the rail yard and the existing homes along Mitchell and South Edisto, and 2 churches located along Mitchell and across the street, and the parks, both in terms of visual and noise. Now, we've been in contact with the FAA, the Jim Hamilton Airport, and we've looked through the Aeronautics Commission report. As Rachel mentioned, there's no hazard report from the FAA. And both the South Carolina Aeronautics Commission and the current Airport Commission, we know, are not in support of the land use. But we really want to point out that each represents a single issue interest exclusion to all others. They want to keep as much development away from the airport as possible. They cannot do like the city must and balance the community needs, growth, economic development, impact the neighborhoods. Because of that, they tend to be myopic and focus on one thing and one thing only, which is why we think the report has done this. We wanted to point out, and we've sent you an exhibit on this, that a good portion of the approaches, both to the 13 runway and 31 runway, are already residential. 33.5% of the parcels in that area are currently zoned residential. And none of them are the 1 acre lots that the South Carolina Airport Commission had mentioned. Our increase, our project, would take that from 33.5% to 34%, about a 0.5% increase in area. We understand why the airport's protected, and when asked, we'll always, to the exclusion of other factors, want nothing but open land on the end of the runways. But the city and the Planning Commission just can't focus on that single interest. Interestingly, though, the last point I had is in the city report, you had M1 zoning, and on page 18 and 19, you had the permissible uses. Two of those permissible uses are dormitories, both private and public. And so we really fail to see that if dormitories are allowable under the M1 zoning, how a townhome style residential with a much lower density would not be also allowed. And if that'll answer any questions along with Mr. Fuller.
Thank you, Mr. Brandeis. Any questions from Planning Commission at this stage?
This is Rachel Bailey. I just want to clarify, private dormitory may be permitted in M1, but with conditions. And one of those conditions is it cannot be within 600 feet of a residentially zoned area. So although this project or this site is M1, a private dormitory would not be permitted there. So I just want to clear that up as well.
Yeah, unless they acquired additional property.
Did Planning Commission have any other follow-up questions? Otherwise, we could move into public comments.
I didn't hear any additional questions or comments from Planning Commission, so we'll move to public comment. And we encourage those that would like to communicate via email to begin sending in letters and emails to cocboardmeeting@columbiasc.gov. You can also leave a voicemail to begin leaving the voicemail using *2. We will start to receive comments from the public who choose to speak via phone live. Press *3 to join the queue. And again, when participating, please provide your full name with the communication for documentation purposes, along with spelling your last name. We will now hear comments that have been received in writing via email or letter.
I only received the email from Mr. Fuller, as well as the email from the Aeronautics Review, and then the email from Mr. Brandeis. Andrew, do we have anyone on the call that would like to speak about this item or has left a voicemail?
Hello, John. No, I do not have any callers that have indicated that they wish to speak. I do not have any voicemails. I do have a single comment that was entered in. That was from Mr. Brandeis. I think he was saying that unless additional property was acquired, I believe that was a comment regarding distancing requirements for private dormitories.
Great, thank you. We will move forward. I want to have one last call here for this particular item, Mr. Frost.
You said we have one more caller?
No, I said, do you want to just have one more
yeah.
chance for people to call in, and then we'll move forward.
Yeah, we'll take one more second to see if anybody else calls in or emails. So we've heard from the public via emails, letters, web, and phone. We will again pause for a short moment to allow anyone else to decide if they would like to be heard. I think at this stage, hearing no response, additional response from the public, we'll move forward with questions from Planning Commission. Are there any follow-up questions from Planning Commission? Hearing none, I'll take a motion. Anyone?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion.
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we recommend to rezone the parcels at 901 South Edisto Avenue through 919 South Edisto Avenue, a rezoning from Light Industrial District M1 to General Residential District RG2.
Second.
Okay. Got a second?
Second.
Yep. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed? Say no.
Sounds like it was unanimous. All
Yeah,
aye.
Sounds like the request to rezone is approved for item number 9.
Moving on, our next site plan review this evening is 2440 through 2484 Forest Drive, as well as 1513 and 1519 McDuffie Avenue, 2401 through 2501 Washington Street, 1400 through 1522 Lincoln, 1503 through 1527 Garden Plaza, and 1502 through 1526 Garden Plaza, 1505 Lion Street, 1510 Lion Street, 1527 Lion Street, and 2377 Washington Street. This is a site plan approval for the construction of a group residential development on the former Gonzalez Gardens. It's the Gonzalez Gardens redevelopment. The properties are zoned RG1 and C3. This is the area in being considered. It is outlined in the green line. And then we also have the land use map. We have a site plan for your consideration, and feel free throughout the meeting if you have a question about a particular drawing to let me know, and I can navigate to that particular drawing. They've also submitted plans for the large-scale residential facility that will be towards the main intersection, as well as plans for the other buildings throughout the site. And I believe the applicant is here, as well as Mr. Chambers, who is our land development plan administrator. And I believe Adam is on the call to present as the applicant.
I'm going to forward it to Cindy Herrera.
All right, Cindy Herrera is here to present the project to you.
Good evening. As Jonathan had shown, the site plan, I don't know if you can go back to that, Jonathan.
Yep. Just let me know what you want to be on and I'll move it.
Okay, that's great. This is the proposed site plan for the Oaks at St. Anna's Park. It consists of 2 components. A senior component, as you see in the upper left-hand corner of the site plan, will anchor the site as you come down Forest Drive. This will consist of 95 one-bedroom apartments for individuals age 62 and older. The second component is a family component that will consist of 190 townhome structures that will be 2 and 3 bedrooms. These units will consist of 10% of the units will be market rate, 10% of the units will be tax credit only with no subsidy, restricted to 60% of AMI, and the remaining 80% of the units will be tax credit units with a rental assistance provided as well. Units, we've gone through multiple iterations of the design. We've worked closely with the Lions Neighborhood Association. We had a large public virtual meeting on June 22nd, in which we broadcast about a 30-minute presentation about the project and the site, provided all of the information. And then we took questions and answers live via Facebook Live as well as Zoom Live, and tried to respond to all of the questions that we received. The overall development is about a $58.2 million development and will be financed entirely with private capital. Not entirely, predominantly with private capital, with a limited amount of public funding. We have addressed several concerns of the 8 homeowners that you see located to the right side of the site, and have continued to try to address their concerns. And most recently are looking at ways in which the alley that you see behind the 8 single-family homes, which serves as access to their garages, that we would limit any access on that alley. Another major issue that we've addressed from the neighborhood is wanting to minimize traffic on McDuffie Street. And at their request, we have expanded Liberty Hill Street into the site around a traffic circle to be able to then exit on the site. The site does include a partial closure of Lion Street. As you'll see, there is a turnabout at the end of Lion Street prior to getting to the senior building. Columbia Housing actually owned the land on the other side of Lion Street, and in order to incorporate it into the design, it requires the partial closure. And the senior building will be accessed off of Ontario Street. I think those are the highlights, and we'd be open to any questions that anyone has. We do have our architect and our engineer on the call as well.
Thank you. Are there any questions from Planning Commission? I think one question that I had is for those buildings that really abut up adjacent to Forest Drive. I think there's been some concern of what I guess folks will see from Forest Drive is the backside of those buildings, maybe patios, and then what does that look like? I think the elevations look good looking at the rear elevations of those buildings, but if there's patio chairs and grills and things like that, is there anything that can be done to minimize that and buffer that and protect just, really, I mean, even if a child runs out that back door and into the road, what's being done along.
Yeah, it's not reflected in Matt and Darren, please feel free to jump in here, but it's not reflected on the site plan, but that will have a very heavily landscaped buffer along Forest Drive. And it is also our intent to look at a fencing that would be matched to the hospital fencing across Forest Drive, that would in essence, be able to buffer that, those rear entrances. And we did have a lot of discussion with interested stakeholders, and we really had very mixed reviews. Many people felt that we should reverse those buildings. Other folks felt that we shouldn't. For the consistency of the development, if I come in, I'm really going to want to park probably to walk into the front of my house and not have to, or my visitors that will be coming to visit me. And since there's no parking obviously available on Forest Drive, from a design perspective, it seemed to be more logical to face those buildings in towards the development. And I don't know, Matt or Darren, if you have anything to add to that.
Cindy, this is Darren. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I think the landscape plan is included in the package. Maybe John?
Is it in there, John? I don't know if John had it up.
There was some landscaping. I just did not see much in the way of.
The landscaping is not on the PDF for the PowerPoint.
Okay.
Okay. Well, Cindy covered it. I mean, there is heavy landscaping, but I mean, James, you bring up a good point about children. So Cindy addressed that. I think the potential for a fence there could make sense for that reason. That's a good reason.
Any other questions from the Planning Commission at this point? Hearing none, I think we can move to public comment, John, if there's anything out there.
Sure. I do not have any emails at this time.
Well, I guess I'll read
through that.
Yeah, just real quick. Not that, I mean, hopefully if anybody's been on, they've heard this already. But we encourage those that would like to communicate via email to begin sending in letters and emails to COC board meeting at columbiasc.gov. We also encourage those wanting to leave a voicemail to begin leaving voicemail by pushing *2. And we will also start to receive comments from the public who choose to speak via phone live by pressing *3 to join the queue. Again, when participating, please provide your full name, spelling your last name with communication for documentation purposes.
So starting now, we do not have any comments that have been received via email, either before the meeting
We will not hear
or
any comments that have been received in writing.
we do not have any comments in writing.
Okay. Do we want to pause for just a little bit shorter moment? Did I for a minute there?
Sure. Andrew, do you have any any public comments on public input?
John, no, I am currently refreshing my screens to see if anything may have come in, but I do not have any callers that have indicated they wish to speak, and I have not received any comments through the comment tool.
Okay. We'll move on to this slide here, Mr. Frost.
Yeah, hearing no responses from the public, we'll move forward. Again, if there's any questions from the Planning Commission, please go ahead and ask. If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to approve with staff comments, site plan review number 10 for the construction of a group residential development, zone RG1 and C3 commercial.
Second.
Hear the motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed, please say no. Motion carries. The site plan approval is approved for item 10.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next site plan review item for this evening is 2.74 acres southwest of Rugby Road, a portion of that parcel, 0.31 acres east/south Rugby Road, 4802 Brickyard Road, a portion, 320 Club Road, 0.38 acres of the west/south Rugby Road, 4848 Rugby Road, and 4860 Rugby Road. This is a site plan request for site plan approval to construct a 91-unit multifamily development by Greater Columbia CDC. The properties are currently zoned RG1, general residential, and the property actually, there's an error at the bottom of that screen. I apologize for that. The property actually did go through rezoning with the city and is within the city as well as rezoned for multifamily. So this is a site plan review. You can see here on the map the outline of the subject parcel. And this is the map, and our maps are not updated since the rezoning, but that shows the zoning boundaries. And here is the site plan for the project. And if you'd like me to zoom in, I do have a tool that lets me zoom in if you'd like to see any of that writing a little bit more in detail. This is a little bit more simplified site plan. The landscaping plan, and the applicant is here. I believe he is, one or more of them are on the call. So if we would like to start with one of the people from the team. I'm not sure who would want to speak first, but we'll hand it over to the applicant.
All right, good evening, everyone. This is John Lewis. I'm the rep with New Paths Development Consultant, and I'm the developer for the project, representing Greater Columbia CDC. And on the previous meeting, it was requested that we provide a copy of the executed VCC contract that we did with DHEC, so that should be there in front of you, well as based on some of the feedback from the community regarding concerns over excess traffic, that the commission recommended we do a traffic study as well, and that has been completed and submitted to you as well. The VCC has been executed, and the traffic report came back with just a recommendation to possibly paint, double yellow lines in the road. So I'll open up for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Is there any questions from the Planning Commission at this stage? Hearing no questions, John.
Yeah, I do want to mention Jonathan Chambers, our land development administrator, is also on the call. If you have any questions about the site plan, he may also be able to assist in any questions. I'll let you introduce the sequence of how people can contact us.
Sure. Hearing no questions at this stage from Planning Commission, we'll move to public comment. Again, we encourage those that would like to communicate via email to begin sending in letters and emails to cocboardmeeting@columbiasc.gov. We also encourage those wanting to leave a voicemail to begin leaving the voicemail using *2. Those who would like to receive or speak via phone live, press *3 to join the queue. And when participating, please provide your full name, spelling your last name for documentation purposes. We will now hear comments that have been received in writing via email or letter.
All right, thank you, Mr. Frost. So there was a number of emails that did come through that have been forwarded to you earlier today. There was 2 letters from a Mr. DJ Sumter, as well as an email from Miss Parker, which had video links, as well as another email, and I'm going to apologize for the pronunciation, but Miss Condense, I believe. And we also, I believe we received another email. Let me scroll through here. I want to make sure I can grab it. We received an email from Ms. Harris. She indicates, I am a homeowner in Barony, and I continue to speak for us in the community to oppose the residential development that has been proposed. The site is not the right location for 500 residents and 91 units. Our community would not, if our community would be there in person to state our opposition if it were not for the global pandemic. Our community is a majority older and heavily concentrated population of lower to moderate income. Please do not overlook our desires to disagree with this apartment development and silence our voices. Thank you, Jada Harris. And I do have another email. This was one I mentioned earlier in the meeting. It is from Ms. Parker. It says all council members do not seem to be there and all documents not submitted by the applicant. The City Planning Commission members are currently there. We have 6 members on the call at the moment, and the items were submitted. I believe the technical exhibits for the environmental were attached to the exhibit, and the transportation document was also submitted and reviewed, and Mr. Chambers has reviewed that, as well as our city traffic engineer. And I'm scrolling through to look for additional emails. And those are the emails that I believe for this case I have at the moment, in addition to those 4 that I mentioned we received earlier in the day. Andrew, do we have anyone that's on the call?
John, yes. I do have a caller that has indicated they wish to speak. I also do have an email as well. I can go ahead and read that email if you would like. Sure.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, and this email is from Zipporah Sumter. And it begins, ladies and gentlemen, as a member of the Club Road / Barony Woods community, I again write to you to express my displeasure with the project slated for this community. Please be aware that as a community, we are not against affordable housing. To suggest that our community needs to be educated on such is an insult to the many retirees, retired educators, business owners, military retirees, and current educators in the community. We are against the congested apartment buildings in that particular area of the neighborhood, the increased traffic on narrow, curvaceous roads, and the increase in crime rate that will accompany the finished project. The terms and projections of this project changes with every meeting. Initially, we were told there would be 84 units. That changed to 91 units. We were told that there would be an entrance and exit on the Barrington Road. Now it's Club Road only. Club Road is a small, barely 2-lane road with a dangerous curb. Apparently, a strip was placed on Club Road for 1 week and one on Barrington Road. A true traffic study cannot be conducted at this time due to the pandemic. This is because most of the residents are elderly and are not traveling outside of their homes. We have already lost one of our community soldiers to the virus in March. The curb on Club Road is too tight to have an exit and entrance. Further, kids walk to school in that area, so you have a definite presence of pedestrians, which can lead to a potentially dangerous outcome. Further, we are concerned about the quality of the apartments. Based upon the look of the Ridgewood Landing apartments, the quality of those apartments are poor. The tenants lack storage space and as such have used a tiny space in the back of their individual apartments to store items outside. These items are visible to the street. In addition, during the day, individuals can be seen congregating in the back of individual apartments and walking aimlessly at night. Also, the trash bins are located in the center of the parking lots. This is unacceptable and shows a blatant disregard for the health and safety of those in the complex and in the community. Based upon the looks of what has already been erected, this is not something you as members of this board would want to drive past on your way home or look upon on your relaxing weekend at home. So why should this community do so? Again, we are against this project in its entirety. It does not uplift our community in any way. If anything, it serves to devalue the surrounding property and the community as a whole. Zipporah Sumter. And that's the only email I do have. Again, like I said, there is a speaker on the line, 2 speakers on the line that have indicated they wish to speak. And I will patch through the first one
Thank you, Andrew.
now. Well, bear with me.
Afternoon, Bo. My voice kind of hoarse on the day, but my name is Anthony Kelly, Kelly. I stay on Brickyard Road, and I call in every time about the water situation that comes off of that hill back they built up all these years, and water still comes off on the walkway. We cannot walk on the walkway. I never get a response back of what that and the engineer report. I don't understand the engineer report on that. We never get nothing on that. The front of my house is deteriorating with the water coming off the bank. And I drove trucks for 30 years. I couldn't come around Club Road. That is no area for more traffic to come around there, because you have to come out in a deep curve. And a person that comes around that curve, he's not going to have time to react on Club Road. I've been out here for many years. My parents owned this house over 51, 52 years. I know I got grown and left and came back because my mom willed me this house. My wife is a nurse. I thought this would be a good area where we can retire from. But them apartments up there, I don't think that they deserve to go up there. And I think that the board should take more look in engineer on Brickyard side of the road where there's water running down. And I want to thank the board member for their time. And excuse me for my voice. I'm kind of hoarse tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. All right.
Okay, and as I mentioned, there is another caller.
Okay.
Rogers, Rodgers. I grew up in the Barony community. My parents still live there today. The home that I grew up in and the home that they own, they have owned for 50 years. It's a quiet community. As Mr. Kelly stated, a friend of mine that I grew up with, it's not ideal to put an apartment complex in that area. First of all, with the road, Club Road going into Ruxby Road, the traffic will be a nuisance. And also, when you look at the ground is contaminated. And that's what Mr. Kelly is talking about with the water situation, because the ground is contaminated. I feel that the homeowners who are there take pride in being homeowners. All the homeowners I know want to keep the area as is, a nice, quiet community. But an apartment complex would bring about unwanted traffic. It would bring about an overpopulation of the area that is not needed. So I'm in concurrence with the residents there and my other counterpart who grew up there, that an apartment complex is not needed. It would compromise the safety and the welfare of the residents in that area. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers.
Mr. Frost, this is John. I have a request from one of the individuals who sent in an email earlier, which was forwarded to you, and they've requested that it be read into the record. So this email is from BJ Sumter, and he says, my name is BJ Sumter, and I'm the president of the Club Road Barony Woods Neighborhood Association. I'm writing you on behalf of the many, many neighbors who have expressed their disappointment to me regarding your decision to allow the project of this type, 11 plus minus acre site, 91 townhomes, Rugby and Brickyard Roads, Columbia, South Carolina, within the center of our community. Since conception of this project, the citizens in our community came to numerous meetings protesting this monstrosity that these developers wish to construct. Issues such as crime, truck traffic, contaminated grounds were both fraught with considerable research and effort by concerned citizens. Numerous issues have been presented and alarming issues have been pointed out that gave pause to the entire process. Failure for everyone involved in this project and the process to due diligence in this matter leave open the possibility of legal liabilities for failure to do so. Different entities have made attempts to circumvent the entire process in lieu of following guidelines and instructions by way of utilizing deceptive practices. The serious health concerns that were discovered by the environmental study and testing brings the alarm for further investigations. As I stated in my statement and letters in the past, the issues have been recently pointed out during an interview. Please see the video YouTube https://youtube.be/ ITIG little g capital O capital D CIL capital Q, and the other YouTube youtube.b/K5JOPU. Those were all capitalized letters, lowercase y, capital Z, capital T, 4. Once again, I urge you to consider your decisions regarding this property and remove this from the agenda. Should you choose to hear this petition again, I urge you to deny the petition. The people of this community have spoken, and we do not want this in our community. Thank you, BJ Sumter, the CRBWA president.
Thank you, John.
Yes.
Are there any additional callers on the line?
This is Andrew. I don't have any additional callers. However, there is a voicemail that has been left, and I can play it into the record. And so here you go.
Hello, my name is Vanessa Bazemore. I'm calling about the Rugby Road area. I was calling because I don't approve of the apartments being built back there, or the townhomes being built back there. That curve is very narrow. There's nowhere to go. Children walk to school on that curve, and if there's something that very dangerous can happen with these cars riding around the curb. And I was just saying, I do not approve of it. My parents, I've lived in that community. My parents have been a resident of that community for 35 years. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, and I believe those are all the calls, and I'm just double checking any comments that may have come in. And I do not see any additional comments.
I have one additional email. I do not believe it came in right before the meeting that I do not believe got forwarded to Planning Commission, so I'd like to read that into the record. It is from a Zeppo Sumter. It says, "Dear ladies and gentlemen, as a member of the Club Road Barony Woods community, I again write to you to express my displeasure with the project slated for this community. Please be aware that yes.
I did read that email.
Oh, you read this one. Sorry. I was.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Then I believe we have read those emails. You had, in addition to Mr. Sumter's email that I read and the emails Andrew read, there was 2 others that were forwarded to you earlier this afternoon.
And I apologize. I do have a caller that has just now indicated they wish to speak.
Okay.
Hello, Ms. Parker.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, my name is Teresa Parker from KER.
I agree with my neighbors. We have tried our best to look at the project that this developer has built. It is very poorly constructed. The trash bins are in the middle of the road. But besides that, they have not been transparent with us. They have means to contact us. When I wrote in that the documents have not been provided, they have a traffic study. This traffic study indicates that 800 cars pass on Club Road. That is very inaccurate. There's a pandemic going on. Even if there was not a pandemic, me living from that area, there's not 800 cars to go through in a month. The driveway, they're saying that they can make a proper right or left turn. If they make a right turn, they're going to go into the neighbor's house. They have contacted, I've got an email from DHEC. They have executed their documents from DHEC, but they have to do a work plan and submit it to DHEC. So therefore, DHEC has not done their environmental testing. That was one of the things that we talked about in the last meeting. This email I have from them is from July 7th from DHEC. It says, once the plan has been received, the department will review and comment on it, and then the environmental sampling can be done. We still have the first two environmental studies that the first one, they did not do samples. The second one, my concern with this project also, they say they're building on 10 acres, but now because of the underground waterway, the shifting of the land, if you look at your site plan, all of those buildings are now pushed towards the road. So I'm not sure, and I haven't got clarification from DHEC. Are they just trying to clear up the top portion of this and leave the rest of it? When they first initially started this, they said that they would have an entryway on Brickyard. But now that they see how bad the land is, the contamination, it seems like they're trying to push everything back. I do not trust the fact that they said 84 units, now 91. Are they going to continue to build on that? Also, I contacted myself, Department of Transportation, and Mr. Jonathan Chambers, who's on your panel, he indicated in the last video that this has been submitted to the traffic engineers and no traffic study is required. However, Mr. Chambers also is very deceitful. He should know that this project should have been submitted to the Department of Transportation, and it has not. I have an email from the Department of Transportation of July 7th that no permit or this plan has been submitted by the city or any other entity or the developer. They're being very deceptive. Also, their plan that they wrote out that they submitted to DHEC, they're releasing themselves of legal liability, and it also says the department, they acknowledge they have to submit their information to the department, which is DHEC. Again, all their documentation has not been submitted. They're trying to get this approved without doing what they need to do. Also, this application was signed by traffic engineer of DHEC. DHEC traffic engineer is not allowed to sign off any city roads. They have no authority. And Mr. Chambers should have known that. Whoever did this application should have known that. This is another indication of them just taking shortcuts to blindside us like we're unintelligent to look at this. When Ms. Sumter spoke of insulting our intelligence the day after this meeting, we had Tamika Isaac Devine get on a public forum saying that we need to be educated on on subsidized housing. Again, I want to stress, we're not against Section 8 homes. We're against the impact of this many residents in this area. Drawing a double line down the middle of a curvy road that is too narrow in the first place is not going to combat the hazards of this road. We have neighbors. I don't know if the Planning Commission is required or interested in driving on Club Road. I drove it myself and submitted a video. You have neighbors who are repairing their fences now from people hitting their fence right there on that curve as it is. This project should definitely be denied for several safety reasons, health reasons. Again, the information they have, it's impossible to do a proper traffic study during a pandemic when everyone is staying home. Ms. Devine and whoever else is talking about educating us, I do need to be educated on affordable housing because I do not understand how affordable housing this small, poorly built, is going to be over $1,000. In my mind, affordable homes should be affordable. They talked about first responders and teachers, and we need to give them affordable houses. This neighborhood is full. My father, retired fireman. My cousin there, Barrington Drive, retired teacher. We have first responders. We have Miss McGill, nurse. We have first responders and teachers in that area who love their home, who chose this area because it was a quiet area to retire and have families. Please take in consideration, you know, build your affordable homes or find a better place, a safer place to build it. Another thing that was brought out in the Housing Authority task force, one of the panel members mentioned that we should not be putting these homes, Section 8 homes, in lower income neighborhoods, and that's what you're doing. They talk about food desert. This is not going to bring a grocery store within a mile of any of these homes. The only place that could be a grocery store, Grace Community Church, is there. We're thankful they're there, but this is not going to help the food desert. So why are you bringing more homes into a food desert to make it work? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Parker. All right. Anyone else on the call, on the line, or any more emails coming in?
I do not have any more emails at this time. Andrew?
And no, I do not have any additional callers.
And Mr. Chairman, this is Jonathan Chambers, and I just want to clarify as with regards to the traffic impact study. If you'll notice on the case summary, there is a series of city reviewers who do review and approve site plans from a technical aspect. You will see that David Brewer is the city's traffic engineer. He does not work for SCDOT, and he is the responsible for reviewing the traffic with regards to site plans when it comes to City of Columbia development. DOT will review traffic impact studies when it is on their road. However, the City of Columbia also reviews traffic impact studies when they are in the city limits. And during that time, the city's traffic engineer, who is David Brewer, did not require a traffic impact study. So I just wanted to clarify that for the record.
Understood. Yeah, thanks, Jonathan. Yeah, I think it's pretty clear they're tying into an SCDOT road, so ultimately they will need to get SCDOT encroachment permits. So the DOT will need to review it at some point in time once submitted. I would say maybe give it another couple seconds or a few seconds. If we don't have any other callers or any other emails, we'll go to any follow-up questions from Planning Commission. But there's one last chance. Is there any additional callers or emails?
No additional emails on my end.
Okay.
Mr. Frost?
Yeah.
Ms. Parker has indicated she wishes to speak again if you would choose to recognize her.
I think that'd be fine.
Here you go.
Thank you. Yes, Ms. Parker, are you on?
Hello?
Yes, Ms. Parker?
Ms. Parker?
Hello?
Hello, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just want to address what Mr. Chambers said again. I personally spoke to Mr. Brewer, and his own words said that he's only authorized to do traffic studies for existing neighborhoods, meaning if there's a speed bump or a stop sign that's needed. So all this conflicting information is not good at all. Again, the project should have, and I spoke to Mr. Phil at DOT. Again, they said this project should have been submitted to them. South Carolina Department of Transportation. I do note in the traffic study that they said that they were in agreement with their study. However, when I spoke to them on July 7th, they said that someone from Crescent Plant Signing told them that they have done a traffic study and they did not need to do one. That does not mean that they're in total agreement with this. Again, they're pushing this through, and it is not a good area. Now, again, if Mr. David Brewer himself has lied to me and told me that he's only authorized to do traffic studies for existing neighborhoods, his words, again, according to the South Carolina Department of Transportation, DHEC has no authority, or Mr. Brewer had no authority to sign off on city streets. That should have been done by them. Thank you.
All right. Any other calls or emails? If not, we'll move to any questions from the Planning Commission.
I do not have any.
Andrew,
Go ahead, Andrew.
I do not have any new messages, nor do I have any new callers that have indicated they wish to speak.
And I do not have any more emails.
Great. So we've heard from the public via email, letters, web, and phone. Hearing no additional responses from the public, we'll move forward with any questions from the Planning Commission at this time. Are there any additional questions or any questions from the Planning Commission for the applicant or for staff?
I was going to ask Jonathan, so does he still, after she said her last comment, does he still stick by what he said initially?
If you'll look, Ms. James, if you'll look at the kind of like in the case summary, our traffic engineer, David Brewer, has reviewed and concurs with the traffic impact study that was submitted. And he has the recommendation about striping the street in accordance with the traffic impact study's recommendation. That is his, he reviewed and approved with the condition. SCDOT, it is their street. They will have to review, they will also have to review the traffic impact study. But again, it's kind of like with the DHEC portion, that's another step that the developer will have to go through and get approved with the state as well.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions from Planning Commission?
And Mr. Chairman, if I just want to reiterate from the standpoint of the case, as John indicated, the case is the property has already been rezoned. So at this point, it is a technical review.
Understood. Thank you, Jonathan. All right. I'll ask again if there's any questions from Planning Commission, please speak up. If not, I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to request site plan approval for the 91 unit multifamily development with all staff comments, as well as a double yellow center line be installed on Club Road in accordance with the traffic impact study.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to second.
Hearing a motion with a second, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no. Hearing none, the ayes have it. The motion carries. The site plan for item number 11 is approved.
Mr. Chairman, I did say no. I don't think you heard me.
Okay.
Yeah, I voted no.
Okay, do we need to take a vote then?
Or why don't we take a roll call vote? I will start off and we'll just record the vote. So Mr. Frost.
Yes, aye.
Mr. Stigemeyer.
Aye.
Mr. Tupper.
No.
Ms. Hartz.
No.
And Ms. James.
Yes, aye.
That is 3-2.
Dr. Mandel.
Dr. Mandel had an emergency and left before this case started, and so did Mr. Harris. No,
Yes,
Mr. Harris left a little while ago. So there's currently the Planning Commission is Frost, Stigemeyer, Tupper, Hartz, and James. And so that motion was three yeses and 2 noes.
So the motion is approved. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
We have no other business this month, Mr. Chairman. So I don't know if you have anything else. Otherwise, we are looking for a motion to adjourn.
I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.